Next on the Bill Gephardt Show Podcast.
It's more than just a police issue. This is a criminal justice issue. This is going to take all the stakeholders coming to the table to figure out how we're going to fix this. How are we going to prevent those that would be intent to commit violent crimes in our community? How do we stop that? So that's a big conversation.
Today's podcast brought to you in part by these fine sponsors of local journalism. Reams Food Stores, where you can now order online and pick up curbside in Sandy and West Jordan. City Creek Mortgage, where Mortgage Mike says, expect to save money. The attorneys of Robert J. DeBryan Associates. When you're injured, your attorney matters. Steve's Automotive Specialists, hiring the best mechanics in the business and paying top wages to get them. ES Solar, Utah's premier solar electric contractor. Save money now with clean, safe solar power. All Utah Plumbing, Heating, and Air, where owner John Holland and his rock-solid team stand behind their white glove service with the best warranties in the business. Snyder Brothers Meat, Salt Lake Valley's finest full-service meat market, is now delivering. And by special guest sponsor Legacy RV, powered by the Haugen Group. All right, joining us now on the podcast, Salt Lake Police Chief Mike Brown. Chief, welcome to the show once again.
Bill, thank you. It's always a pleasure to be here with you.
Do you know the last time you were here was about 10 months ago or so? We were talking about the spike in 2020 crime rates. Violent crime was up about 22%. Property crime up 25%. So you and other agencies back then were working with Mayor Mendenhall, talking to me about putting together a target plan to reduce crime. It appears that we're making some headway, especially in or including District 4. That would include the downtown area. Is that true?
That's true, Bill. And, it's not only just District 4. Across the rest of the city, there has been great headway being made in those districts. But violent crime is that's a difficult.
Well, violent crime has gone up again. What's the deal? What are we going to do about that?
It's more than just a police issue. This is a criminal justice issue. This is going to take all the stakeholders coming to the table to figure out how we're going to fix this. How are we going to prevent those that would be intent to commit violent crimes in our community? How do we stop that? So that's a big conversation. But it's not one to shy away from.
Has it got anything to do with gun violence? Because, the legislature has, passed this law. You can pretty much carry a gun anywhere. You don't have to be trained. Most anybody can get a gun. And I know if you have a certain criminal past, you can't get a gun, but it's easy enough to get a gun on the black market. Well, what do police officers say about this? I mean, we're putting the constitutional rights of carrying a gun against more violent crime as we put this together. What are your thoughts?
You know what, Bill, it always goes back to that conversation. People that shouldn't have guns should not have guns. And how do we prevent that? And how do we make sure that they don't get into their hands? Because you're right, they're easy to get a hold of, but there needs to be, this is a conversation with a lot of stakeholders to talk about it.
You've asked the question, how do we stop this? And I think we look to people like you, not to ask the question, but to answer the question. So what is your answer?
To stop gun violence?
Yeah. Or guns, or anybody who wants to practically can have a gun.
Guns are prevalent in our community and across this state. It's the guns in the wrong hands. And that's what we're seeing, Bill. We're seeing habitual predatory criminals getting access to guns, people that are on parole, probation, restricted individuals. That should not be happening. That's a bigger conversation than we, just the police, can handle. That's corrections, parole, that's everybody.
Have you seen this news release from the Sheriff's Association? I don't know. I don't expect you to read it here, but it came in a couple of weeks ago, and it's one of a couple where they talk about, Second Amendment, very important Second Amendment stuff, which is the right to carry firearms. In a couple of news releases, it's almost like the Sheriff's Association, as an association, not as individual sheriffs, is pledging allegiance to the Second Amendment in a way, promising to defend all from any restrictions, blaming the rise in crime on literally George Soros and his evil leftist followers. Combine that with the notion that we're hearing lately that there's a certain amount of infiltration of militia groups into police departments. By the way, some of the sheriffs we talked to were embarrassed about that news release and didn't want to talk about it. Okay. So if you put that all together, and are militias infiltrating the Salt Lake Police Department, what are your thoughts on that? What have you seen?
No, Bill, absolutely not. No.
Well,
We
not
do.
absolutely not, sir. I mean, I don't know about the police department, but I don't know about the Salt Lake Police Department, but we are hearing this stuff
Okay,
that
well, all right,
okay,
I'll give
yeah,
you that. Absolutely
okay.
not. But in the Salt Lake City Police Department, we do extensive background checks. We look at who we're hiring. We're pretty picky on who we allow into these ranks to don this patch and badge. And so I would say, we're very careful who we hire and who is within these ranks. And if we found people to be of that character and that nature supporting that, they would no longer be part of this police department.
They are special people, police officers. They are sworn. They carry something special. And I guess as long as they're taking their orders from you, I'm okay. And they are, in your opinion. And are you able to weed some out from time to time?
They serve this community. There's a lot of questions you just asked right there.
Yes, there are. And I don't know if this is uncomfortable for you, but I think it's a concern.
Well, what I'm saying is, if we, and it's not just me, if there were people of that character within this organization, we would root them out and they would no longer be working for the Salt Lake City Police Department. And that's just not me. That's the mindset of this entire organization. We don't want that type of individual serving here in Salt Lake City PD.
How about employment? We've heard of a lot of law enforcement, a lot of police officers leaving for various reasons. And some of the grievances maybe involve COVID, mandatory COVID vaccinations. First of all, what's our policy and what is the differential between people leaving, retiring, leaving before retirement, and recruitment?
Well, Bill, 2020 was a difficult year.
It is for everybody, yeah.
COVID, everything that we experienced here in Salt Lake City, the windstorms, the earthquakes, the many weekends of protest, over 300. And some people reevaluated where they were at life, and they said, law enforcement may not be for me. And some left for other careers, some left for other agencies. But I'm telling you, we're right now hiring, and we are staffing this police department, bringing it up to our full strength again of 571. And we're not having any problem filling those new academies. We're planning another academy in January and another one in May of next year of hopefully 20 officers. And we have over 100 applicants that we're now looking into their backgrounds and through the process. So we're getting people that are stepping up in very difficult times saying, yeah, I want to be in law enforcement and I want to work for Salt Lake City.
So the short answer is you're right up there where you need to be on police officers.
Well, we're not there yet. We need more. We need more today, tomorrow, and into the future because, Salt Lake City is growing. Our census numbers are up. Our calls for service are up. So once we get to the 571, I believe we need more, and we'll take a very strategic look and work with the mayor and her staff to see where we really need to be.
Where are we again? You want to be at 571, and where are we?
Our full staff, our full staff is 571. But now remember, 66 are out at the airport and they're assigned there. So they don't really, they stay at the airport. Right now, we're down 55 full-time positions. So
at the airport.
No, here, within the whole department.
So with 571 and we're down 55.
Yeah, so we're at 516.
Okay. Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're and you were talking about a recruitment class, and we're hoping to get back up to where we are. Okay. And morale, how's morale in your view?
Morale's doing better.
Okay.
It's doing better. I hear from a lot of officers. I hear from, emails, conversations. It was a tough year, but I think we're on a much better trajectory right now. There
was an editorial in the Salt Lake Tribune this morning that said there is a correlation between the number of murders and how well the police department is staffed. Personally speaking, I don't see the connection. It was written by somebody who's with the Fraternal Order of Police Union. I don't see the connection. I don't think somebody's going to say, you know what, I'm going to go murder somebody because I know they're a little short-staffed on the police department. But did you see that editorial, and what are your thoughts?
Bill, I haven't seen it, so I can't come on it.
Okay.
Sorry.
What about, there was some criticism that was leveled against the Salt Lake Police Department with regard to the U of U football player Aaron Lowe, who was murdered in, I believe, Sugar House, and there was some criticism about the length of time it took police officers to respond to that?
Yeah. Well, Bill, those are response times. Now, every call that comes into dispatch is categorized and given a priority. There's ones, there's twos, there's threes, there's four. The lower the calls, the less, they're very low. They're a lower priority for us to go on. We want to go to in progress crimes where, there are assaults, robberies, things like that. If you have a loud party call or a fireworks call or something like that, that's a priority 4. That's well down the list. We have many of those. We have a lot of those calls on weekends. We get to them when we can, but tragically, one of these loud party calls ended up turning into a homicide. So, but we received some of those calls prior saying it was a loud party, that the noise was growing and the crowds were growing. But at 20, I think it was 12:20 is when someone called and said, "Hey, I think there's a fight and it's involving a gun." Within 4 minutes, once that priority went from a loud party 4 to a priority 1, we had officers on scene within 4 minutes, 5 minutes.
Let me go back to COVID, because it's something that bugs me. You are vaccinated, right?
I am.
I am too, and I've got my 3rd vaccine. And it is mandatory that city employees, as well, I believe, as well as the police department, be vaccinated, right?
No, it's not mandatory.
It's not mandatory.
No, not here in Salt Lake City. No.
Okay. I just wonder why anybody, especially in the police department, and I don't know, you can't talk about every police officer, but why that would be a problem when we listen to police scanners here at our newsroom. We listen to our police scanners and we find that there are where police officers are questioning about COVID status on the way to a scene. And yet many of them, are they not resisting a COVID vaccine?
Well, Bill, you know what, I haven't heard those comments on the radio, but we started offering the COVID vaccines when they came out early this year.
Okay.
And it was voluntary, and officers went down if they felt so inclined and got their vaccinations. I think the last time we tracked, now we don't track individually who, but we look at the percentage of our department, and I think we were approaching 85-90% of our department elected to get vaccinated. So that's a very high number. I don't know if we would really need to say we need everybody to go mandatorily get vaccinated. So that's kind of where we're at, and I'm not seeing some of the outcry that we're hearing across the country in other agencies.
Oh, good. I wonder why. I don't know either. Is it? I don't know. Utah's unique in a lot of ways. I don't know why. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, Chief Brown, I really appreciate you being here again and keeping us updated on some stuff. I think you've revealed a lot of stuff, and I really appreciate it. Chief Mike Brown will do it again.
Thank you, Bill.
You betcha. Bye-bye. For the latest in breaking local news, go to GephartDaily.com.